Alright, welcome back. In this video, we're doing the 200 subscriber special. In this video, we're going to go over capsaicin. But before we do that, a little progress report. So yes, I know. It's not exactly at 200 subscribers. Sue me. Close enough. Watch time, since I started the channel on July 23rd, 283.7 hours. With a total view count of 15.3 thousand. So thank you so much for that. See, I don't know what this is. I think, I'm going to be honest with you, this part right here, I think one of my videos just did really well. So that's what happened. But, yeah. So, why did I choose capsaicin to do my 200 subscriber special? This is the honest to God truth. Yesterday, I went to a ramen restaurant. And the ramen, I just went by myself. The restaurant is formatted so there's a huge long table in the middle. There's actually many, like 2 or 3 long tables in the middle. And you sit with different families. So whatever space, whatever seat is open, you basically just sit down. They sit you down. So you can sit with other people. And they were talking about capsaicin. One of the people, they were eating their ramen. I was still waiting for my food, but one of them ordered their ramen. So the spicy level goes from like 1 to 10. He ordered 7. And he could barely eat it. And they were talking about capsaicin and, and ways to combat it. I was like, wait a second. This would make an amazing YouTube video. So that's exactly what I did. Here it is, capsaicin. Here's the molecule capsaicin. Notice that it has a very long carbon chain here. So it's lipophilic. This is going to come into play a little bit later in the video. So here's a bell pepper. It's from the genus Capsicum. It's part of the nightshade family of plants. So you probably have heard this before or thought about this. Is that the seeds in peppers is what makes it spicy. That's actually not true. It hardly has any capsaicin in it. What makes the actual pepper spicy and what makes food spicy is this white tissue here. The white tissue that actually holds the seeds is where all that capsaicin is. That's what makes it spicy. It's actually not the seeds itself. I bet you did not know that. So where is it found? So obviously chili peppers. That's the Carolina Reaper. Pepper spray. Tabasco sauce or hot sauce. And here's actually something interesting. Can be found in medications. So there's something called analgesics. Analgesics are basically medications that help you don't feel pain. Basically a pain reliever. So capsaicin can actually be used as a numbing device so you don't feel pain. This was actually a huge thing in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. There was horses that were in the Olympics. I guess it was like a horse riding event or something. They gave the horses capsaicin. The reason is that they would feel less pain. They would basically feel numb. So if they were in pain, they would feel numb. And I guess it gave them an advantage during the sports, during the Olympic Games. So those teams were disqualified. And of course, ramen. Very common. So the thing about ramen is when you're eating ramen, you might notice there's like some kind of oil deposit or oil layer in the ramen. So if you zoom in really closely here, you'll notice 2 different colors. There's this color and then this color, like 2 different layers. The top layer is oil. Oil is fatty, many carbon chains. So a little tip I found out, or not found out, but I kind of discovered, is that capsaicin is in that oily layer. So if you're eating ramen, like that guy that was yesterday with 7 levels spiciness, what he should have done is basically eaten from the bottom. Don't dip your spoon and try to get all that oil on the top, because that's what's going to be spicy. Instead, dip your spoon all the way down into the bowl and get all that, I guess, broth and eat that. It's going to be less spicy than what's on top because oil likes to sit on top. And since capsaicin loves oil because it's fat, it sits on the top. So how does it work? So there are something called nociceptors in our bodies. They are special receptors that when activated, fire an action potential that goes to the brain, and that's how we feel pain. Capsaicin binds to something called the vanilloid receptor, or more specifically, vanilloid receptor subtype 1. So this is found in the skin and the tongue. Here's something actually really interesting, is that this was a very recent finding in 2021. We did not know how capsaicin actually worked for the longest time. It's been in cooking for centuries. But we never actually knew how it worked until 2 years ago. This kind of gives you a deeper insight on how many things in science we still don't know. Something as common as spiciness, we had no idea how it worked until 2 years ago. So when capsaicin binds to these vanilloid receptors, it causes cations, which are basically positive ions like sodium, potassium, and hydrogen, to enter the cell, causing an action potential. So here, the red triangles are capsaicin. And it binds to the vanilloid receptor, right here. It causes the channel to open, and sodium, potassium, hydrogens, and other cations basically rush into the cell. The voltage goes up, we get an action potential, which goes to the brain, and we feel pain. Here's something interesting. So when capsaicin binds and get an action potential that goes to the brain, what we feel is like a burning sensation. Well, these vanilloid receptors can actually be activated by other means, like heat, rather like temperature, or abrasion. Here is a really good example. Say if you were to fall on some concrete or like gravel, and you scrape your leg. You feel that burning sensation, right? That uncomfortable burning sensation. That's the vanilloid receptor. That's the vanilloid receptor activating, and we get the same process. So it's basically like capsaicin bounded, but instead you scraped your leg, for example. Or say if you put your hand over a stove and you feel that burning sensation. It's the same thing. These vanilloid receptors activate in the same manner. Isn't that interesting? So if you let's say if you were to eat something hot, as in temperature hot, and you burn your tongue, that burning sensation is the same thing as capsaicin binding. So how do we actually make capsaicin? How do plants make capsaicin? Well, here we have vanillamine, and it combines with 8-methyl-6-nononyl coenzyme A. And then with capsaicin synthase, an enzyme, we get capsaicin. It's really that simple. It's, if you're really interesting that plants make this specific enzyme to cause spiciness. So if you kind of think about how it evolved, is this capsaicin production a way for plants to protect themselves against predators? I don't know. Because without this enzyme, there would be no spiciness. A little bit interesting. So here's some different fun facts here. So why do people have a different spice tolerance? So it's all about genetics. So if I were to go to one person and say, oh, they love spicy food, I can handle it. And I go to another person, they're like, oh, I hate spicy food. It's too much for me. Why is that? The reason is genetics. It has to do with the amount of vanilloid receptors on your tongue. Genetics codes for everything. It codes for how many receptors we have. So this one person who cannot handle spiciness at all may have thousands and millions of vanilloid receptors compared to someone who can handle it and like, oh yeah, spiciness is fine. They may have barely any vanilloid receptors. So they don't feel that heat. They don't feel that stinging, burning sensation. So it's all about how many receptors you have. So when people are like, oh, you're weak, you can't handle spiciness. Well, it's your genetics that are weak. I don't know what to say, but that's what it is. You just have too many receptors. You just built different. Literally built different. So capsaicin can also be used as insecticide. So if insects were to basically consume capsaicin, it would actually burn their insides and would cause inflammation in their intestines, and they would basically die. They would not want to eat anything. They would not feel like they need to eat anything because they're just so inflamed, and they would just die from starvation. Birds have no vanilloid receptors. So they can have capsaicin, and they would not feel anything. They don't feel any spiciness to them. They don't feel any heat. So this is why birds are able to basically go to peppers, like the nightshade family of plants, or the Capsicum genus, and spread the plants everywhere throughout the population. Because when they fertilize the plants or whatever, they're basically scattering the plant's DNA everywhere. But it has capsaicin in them. But birds are immune to it, so they're able to do it. So that's basically how it goes back to the genetics thing about how you can handle spiciness and how people cannot. So what does milk work? You probably heard of this, that when you're eating something spicy, have milk. But why? Milk has something called casein, a protein. And this protein breaks the bonds of capsaicin, basically destroying capsaicin completely. So let's go back over here. So what the protein would do is basically just shatter this entire molecule. So it just go shatter it. And you won't feel any spiciness. So you're probably wondering, well, when I have milk, I still can feel that spiciness, right? Well, it's because the action potentials have already fired into your brain. Some capsaicin has already bonded to the vanilloid receptors on your tongue and already sent a message to your brain to feel spiciness. So the milk is only countering the molecules that have not bound yet, if that makes sense. So actually, capsaicin is lipophilic, like I mentioned. So anything that actually contains fat can neutralize that burning sensation. So capsaicin will follow anything that contains fat. It's like avocados, like salmon, butter, nuts, right? So my best friend, his name is David. He loves avocados. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send this video to him, and I'm gonna tell him, whenever you eat something spicy, have avocados. Because what's gonna happen is, say if you eat something spicy, and right after you have avocado, just say you pretend you don't have milk with you. You eat an avocado. All that capsaicin is gonna basically bind to the avocado, and then when you swallow it, it's gonna go to your stomach. So it's moving those capsaicin molecules from your tongue into your stomach. So anything fatty, so pizza, fries, anything like that. Here's another interesting fact, is the vanilloid receptor can be desensitized. You probably have noticed this actually. When you're eating spicy food, over time, you're going to be like, wow, this actually feels less and less spicy, and you're able to eat more. You're not basically bothered by it. It's because the vanilloid receptors get desensitized. And your action potentials start firing less, and less. So this mechanism is happening less. So this action potential firing, this point right here, it goes down with the more spiciness you have. So that is why you're able to eat. So if you eat like a spicy curry, for example, the first few bites, you're going to be like, wow, this is really spicy. But over time, the more you eat, the less you're going to feel. Because your body basically gets used to it. So yeah, that's basically includes Capsaicin, the 200 subscriber special. Thank you so much for the support. Really. It really means a lot. And if you found this video helpful or fun, please like and subscribe. And until next time, later.